as we've been talking about for several weeks, we are ramping up for kidding season. And one part of ramping up for kidding season is making sure our kidding kit is ready to go. Now, all year I keep 2 totes. You can't really see it, but this is the big tote. And a lot of my goat supply stays in the big tote year round. Then I have this smaller one that has some stuff in it that I keep in the barn ready for kidding. And kind of, there's a few things in there that I would grab like in an emergency, but for the most part, the big tote is where all the supplies stay. Once a year, basically around kidding, I have to organize all this stuff again because throughout the year it just gets messy and I don't deal with it. But I also know I'm missing some stuff, so I want to go through and make a list of what I need to buy. I like using a tote because I use it as like a table in the middle of kidding, so I can set stuff up here as I go. So a few things that pretty much, this thing is nasty because it stays in the barn. A few things that stay in this tote year round, and also I like having the tote with like the seal because then the stuff in it stays pretty clean. A few things that stay in here year round are puppy pads. I use puppy pads while we're kidding. I try to catch the babies on the puppy pads, but even if I don't, puppy pads actually wipe off all the stuff. Where if you use a towel or a blanket, because I do have receiving blankets from where I've had kids, these don't like wipe off all the fluid of birth. Puppy pads do. They will actually wipe it off and soak it up. I do keep wash rags, receiving blankets, old towels in my kidding kit, but those are more so for me to wipe my hands off on constantly. But puppy pads are like the best thing for actually wiping off the fluids that are on the babies to get them dry. So these things stay in the kidding kit at all times, so those are good to go. Blue-eyed doling.
Yes, Mama. She's okay, Mama.
I also keep liquid calcium, as well as gel cap. Yeah, that's right. Make sure it's on camera right. Gel. If you have a goat that is looking like she's possibly getting milk fever, milk fever is caused when their body start leaching all the calcium out of their body to put into their milk. This is for immediate help. This is, it goes under the skin. It's an IV or injectable, quick acting. Anything you're going to put directly into the bloodstream is going to work faster. The gel is if you're like, she may need a little boost. Calcium, if they are lacking in calcium, sometimes it can also cause premature labor. So, I keep both on hand. I've never had to use this. You can see it's unopened, but I keep it just in case. This stuff is really messy, but it stays in the kidding kit, and it's a nutrigent. I've heard mixed reviews on it. Some people say it's an appetite suppressant. Others have no problem using it. I don't use it very often because I have other stuff I like better that's very similar. And basically what it is just a lot of vitamins that you can pump into mom or baby if they need it. I do keep it on hand because it has worked for me in the past. It's not my favorite anymore, but I do have it on hand.
So I'm just hanging out. Obviously, I've been down here, but I'm just kind of watching. Not concerned about eating at all. She's eating and she's doing good. She's taking care of her babies. The babies all look good.
For baby, if I've got a baby that's being a little slow to nurse, I will use this multi-species colostrum. And basically what this does is just give baby a little energy so we can actually get mom's colostrum in them. Along with colostrum, I have powdered colostrum. But what I like better is colostrum from other goats. Right now, at the beginning of kidding season, that would mean colostrum from last year's mamas. It's about a year old. It's not the greatest, but in a pinch, I have it. You really want to use colostrum within a year. I still have some of Belle's frozen. I will replenish that this year when the Nubian's kid. And it is really good eating anytime you have a kid that's kind of weak or, maybe they get a little down with coccidia, or mom was a little stubborn, didn't have enough milk, or whatever. If you have a kid looking kind of puny, a bottle full of colostrum will do a lot for a kid. So having colostrum to newborns is highly important. that is what gives them their immune systems. So even if I have to use powdered colostrum, this is not going to replace a feeding of colostrum. This is just going to get them a little energy so they have the energy to eat either a bottle of colostrum, powdered, frozen, milk straight from mom in that moment, whatever, or nursing off mom. So this is not a replacement, just an energy boost so we can get them eating. I do keep powdered colostrum. It's not my first choice anymore because I have goats that have an abundance of colostrum, so I can make sure I have some frozen. The Nubians are great for that. Belle has always had a ton of colostrum, so usually about the 4-hour mark, I will milk colostrum from her to freeze for the next year.
Hey, Mama. Hey, Mama.
I'm taking everything out of this so I can dump it out real quick. I also have a hair dryer. If, you know, you've got a mom, multiple babies, she's trying to lick them all off. We want to get them dry as quick as possible. If it is not really cold out, I try not to use the hair dryer a ton. I have used it in the past. It is great for getting down at that skin, making sure we're getting dry all the way down. We do use a heat lamp for the babies that are born in this colder weather. Today it is not cold. It's going to be like 70 degrees and it is wonderful. So happy for that. But babies who are born in the cold, we want to get them dry. We want to get them dry all the way to the coat as quick as possible. We have a heat lamp that we can use. I try not to use it a ton, but I will use it for newborns if it is cold. I also really like, if I have to bring babies in, I use a heating pad to make like a heat box. And I'll take a tote like this and put blankets down, puppy pad, and then I will put the heating pad on and then another blanket over it, and then put baby down and then put a blanket over that if baby gets a little chilled. That's how I make a heat box. I will at some point this season, I'm sure I will have to show it. If y'all want a specific video on how to warm babies, I've done it. I've done it a lot. I have done the sink of water. I've made heat boxes. I have done all the things to get babies warm. I will not say I'm an expert, but I have done it in several fashions. Heating pads are great. Hair dryers are great. Don't have to use them often, but when you need them, you got them. Ew, I need to wash this one. That has calcium paste in it. So, big syringe like this, because we are using mostly horse and goat meds, having a big syringe that you can pop in the ends of wormers or in my calcium. My calcium ran away from me. Put the syringe in there. It's kind of hard to do one person, but you can. You'll pull, and a lot of times you stick a stick or something down there to push too, and you pull up how much you need for a goat. So, syringes like this. The ones where you lock a needle on aren't as good, so you want the ones that are like this or some style of this, not necessarily a lock and hook. I think that's what they're called. Yep. Vaseline, not so much for newborns, but if we get a goat with runny poop early on, because sometimes they can get it from overeating, things like that, some Vaseline to put on their butts and tails to keep poop from sticking to them is great. I have done it because like the yellow newborn poop and the meconium, the first poop, very sticky. So little bit of Vaseline on their butts keeps it from sticking to them, which if you've got goats in the cold, poop not drying to them is a good idea. Also in the kitting kit, a Pritchard nipple. These are the recommended nipples for newborn goats, and we just buy the nipples and then I get a Coke bottle of some form. I do like the little 12-ounce bottles for my tiny Nigerians. Even my mini Nubians, I like the smaller bottles, especially as a newborn. It's just less work for me, especially when you've got really thick colostrum. The smaller bottle, it's not sticking to the sides of the bottle so well because Belle's colostrum that I have frozen is so thick. It is like molasses trying to get it through. So if you've got a baby you're trying to get to pull that, sometimes it's hard. I've had to mix her colostrum before with just regular milk to make it a little more flowing because colostrum is very thick and it is wonderful, but it's very thick, and sometimes babies will struggle to pull it out of a Pritchard nipple. But Pritchard nipples, way to go. I've just got fresh bottles. I bought 12 12-ounce Dr. Peppers, and they are washed and ready to go in here. I do keep their lids as well. That way I can just screw. No. Oh, Deacon. Okay. I will keep their lids, and I'll just screw this on the bottle to keep it in here. That way nothing gets in it. And I can, if I'm just milking Mom straight into the bottle, it's clean and ready to go after we wash it. So we do keep the lids. I also do keep a pair of scissors. Sometimes too, if the umbilical cord hasn't snapped yet when coming out, and Mom's trying to pull away, I will very long snip it. One way I like to try to keep my kidding kit and even my goat supplies clean or organized is reusable bags and Ziploc bags. So this is something that's going to go in the kidding kit. Bulb syringe like you get from the hospital, but also what I have discovered I like better is one of the Frida nose Fritas, I think is how you say it. This is used, I actually bought this one for Deacon, and you would stick this in their mouth or by their nostril and get all the gunky stuff out. Now, I have 3 kids. Boogers and gunk I'm used to. This does have a filter, so the little filter would prevent anything from getting to me. And even when I have gotten some big snot out of a baby, it doesn't, you're safe. But definitely like having this. The bulb syringe is also good. I keep one in here, as you can see, in a nice little bag. I keep it in the bag because in that moment of needing it, it is very quick to just grab and you're ready to go with that. Thermometers. So babies, I haven't checked temps, newborns that often, but I do keep 2 different thermometers at all times, and these are used on adults because you do have to do a rectal temperature on animals. A lot of times with babies, I hardly ever check temps because most of the time you can tell by sticking your finger in their mouth, and if they're slightly chilled, you'll know. The first thing to go on a chilled baby is their suckle reflex, and you never want that to leave. And sometimes it's as simple as they came out and they were a little slow moving, Mom was a little slow getting the baby dried off, and so they just got a little chill. A lot of times a heat lamp, a little time, little stimulation from Mom, and they're fine. So we have those. So this is Bosie, which is a selenium injection. I'm starting to try to do selenium injections on my girls before we breed them. The other people have talked about how I've talked about goats are very hard to keep copper in, even though we do loose minerals, we do copper boluses. Selenium is another one we are starting to see a shortage of, or not a shortage of. There's not enough selenium going around basically, even though we do loose minerals. So a yearly dose of selenium in my adults is a very good thing. I have seen babies come out with selenium deficiencies. And a lot of times that will be that the back legs are weak and they kind of have a curve. Like they'll go down like this instead of going straight down. And so a dose of selenium as a newborn puts that to rest and gets them going. I've had to use this several times. I'm so glad I have it now. My own prescription. It doesn't take much. So I'm very cautious on using it because you can hurt them if you use it too much. So just a little bit goes a long way. So in the kidding kit, and to go with that, we do syringes and needles. And it does not take much, but you want fresh needles. I do fresh syringes for this. I think what I'm gonna do, in an effort to keep everything organized, I think I'm just gonna stuff my needles and 2 syringes in my box. Yay, it's all together. My box won't close, but that's okay. Also, I keep probiotics on hand. So when I was talking about my nutrients earlier, I mentioned I have something I like a little better, and that's this Power Punch or Jump Start. Jump Start. So one of these is my go-to now. I like Jump Start because I like that it's a paste and we're not going to accidentally get this in our lungs. Power Punch also works, and what it is it's just a lot of vitamins and minerals just to get us going, a little sugar, a little energy, just to more so for mom than baby. If baby needs something like that, we're going to go with colostrum paste. But for mom, something like this if we're having a little bit of a hard time. We also, for mom, we keep, I don't know if you can see this, but it is raspberry leaf tea, or I think this is actually just raspberry leaves. This is for mom after baby's born, just to give her a little help getting that placenta and everything out, just like women will use that as well. And a couple things that I do not keep actually in the kit, but we do use every year, is molasses to make mom some molasses water. Birth is hard. It takes a lot of fluid. Moms lose a lot of fluid. So we use molasses water, warm molasses water, to encourage them to drink a bunch, to replenish themselves. Also, we're making sure we're getting some sugars flowing in our body because labor is hard. I also like to use my alfalfa hay or chaff hay afterwards. A little easier, encourages them to eat and replenish our body, get our milk flowing, do all the good things. We also, for a lot of our does, if I have them, a lot of times I do, is we give them a banana. And the bananas just give them an extra punch of potassium. Once again, we lose a lot during labor, so any bit of extra we can give them helps. And the more we can do it in a food, food is better than just an artificial like Power Punch and stuff like that. And those are kind of not last resort, but I would rather give them some little extra grain, some good probiotics and some food, good molasses water and those kind of things to get them going. I'll probably put my Complex B in my kitting kit, which once again, it is good for mom. If mom is kind of struggling, Complex B will help keep their appetites up, encourage them to eat. So we do, when I bring goats home from a new environment, not so much babies, but the 2 adults I brought home last year, which were Laramie and Dawn, both got B12 for a couple days after because they were really stressed out. And the best thing you can do for a stressed out goat is get them to eat. And so we do encourage, I did do B12 with them for a couple days. When Laramie was sick last week, we did several injections of B12 or Complex B to encourage her to eat and keep her appetite up, keep her going. And it did a lot. One thing I do not have in here, and I know it is down in my barn, is we spray our umbilical cords as soon as possible with babies. And we spray them with iodine. We call it don't die juice on here because the umbilical cord is an open wound. That was how, just like in humans, that cord connects baby to placenta, placenta connects to the mama. And that's how they get all their food, their air, everything to keep them alive inside mom. So when that comes out and it is snapped, it is an open wound and it is a direct cord to the bloodstream. So we spray that with iodine and that keeps all the bacteria, it kills all the bacteria on that, it helps it shrink up so it closes off. Babies' umbilical cords that are not sprayed, they run a very high likelihood of getting something called joint ill, which is an infection that goes to their joints, and a lot of times the only solution is euthanasia or they succumb to it. So getting that umbilical cord sprayed with iodine, don't die juice here on our farm, is very important. And I've tried multiple ways of spraying it or coating it. I have put just iodine in like a shot glass and stuck it on baby and tipped it back. I have, put it in like little travel squirt bottle, like a little 3-ounce bottle, like a shampoo bottle, and tried squirting it. I didn't like it. And I finally just caved and bought the more expensive vet style one that has just a spritz nozzle. It works the best. And sometimes with babies, you are going to have to do them multiple times because mom's going to lick it off. Iodine is a mineral that mama goats need, that all goats need. So sometimes you have to spray their cords multiple times because mom will clean it off. And that's okay because that is so important to make sure we get that dried up and closed up and cleaned up and taken care of. And that's another reason why I have the scissors, is we don't want an umbilical cord this long, so I keep it 2-3 inches. If I have to cut that a little bit, I will snip it with a pair of scissors, spray my scissors beforehand, spray my scissors afterwards, because we don't want it too long because it's going to drag the ground. And they're animals, they're in poop and pee and all the stuff. So don't die juice is very important. That is my kitting kit, guys. I try to keep things kind of simple while also being prepared for as much stuff as I can be. We are probably days away from our first kitting, which will probably be one of our Nigerians. And I am so excited. It has been a year. Well, no, it's been like 7 months since our last baby goats. But baby goats are my favorite, and if you're interested in seeing their little hops and their little personalities and hopefully some live birth, be sure to subscribe to us. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and we will get back to them. If you have any name suggestions, let me know. We try to go outlaw, country singer, women in songs, men in song, that kind of theme. I have a couple names picked out for some of my book nerds, that if I have any book nerds here. I've got some names picked out for a couple, depending on what they have. I'm Megan from the GWP Homestead, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.